Okay, Neil. England up again on Saturday. It's obviously a massive game for them.
Oh, it's huge, Paul. Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's do or die for both England and Scotland. It's effectively a World Cup eliminator. Obviously, England have won all their 3 games so far, but they've probably been far from impressive in all but one of them, and that was a romp against Romania when they would have been expected to win. Scotland are off the back of an agonising last-gasp defeat to Argentina last week, but the boost they can probably take into the game is they've got a very good record against England in recent years. And the fact that so much is riding on the game, I think previous form will probably go out of the window. Conditions are going to be very important as well. It's expected to be wet and windy in Auckland, which may potentially suit the Scots, who've made quite a few changes to their side. Then the key for England is to have to try and get an advantage, is to try and get on the front foot early on, try and put points on the board, because otherwise, the longer the game goes on and the more it's tight and even, nerves and pressure will come into it, and after that it's anyone's game.
Absolutely. If you could just explain a little bit more about why it's key that England win the game in terms of how the tournament might pan out.
Yeah, certainly. There's a huge incentive for England there to try and win the game and finish top of their group, because the way that the results have panned out so far in the tournament, there's very much a split along the northern and southern hemisphere to the quarter and semi-finals. If England do win, what they can look forward to is a potential quarter-final against France, who of course they beat in the semi-final 4 years ago. And then they would face a potential semi-final against either Ireland or Wales. And I'm sure they'd rather sort of have that scenario in front of them than the alternative, which would mean having to play New Zealand, who so far have been head and shoulders above anyone else, in the quarter-final. And in the unlikely event that they won that, they'd probably have to face South Africa in the semi. So there's a huge incentive for them to try and win on Saturday, so they can get their noses in front in Pool B, and obviously go on against sides that they know very well and who they've got a good record against.
Great, yeah. Just looking back to the Scotland game again, no place for Sale Sharks' Mark Cueto.
No, that's probably the big surprise of Martin Johnson's selection. Prior to picking up an injury, just before England went out to New Zealand, Cueto has figured in every one of Johnson's 27 test matches since he took over as manager. He was very much one of the first names down on his team sheet. And although he sat out the first 2 games in New Zealand, he came back last weekend against Romania and scored a hat-trick in 11 minutes and won the Man of the Match award, and yet his reward is not only to be dropped, but not even be on the bench as well. Gavin Armitage of London Irish has got the nod instead. And it's a bit of a strange decision, because not only is Cueto, he played very well individually last week, but the feeling is that he brings the best out of Chris Ashton and Ben Foden in the back 3. So I think it's a selection that will puzzle quite a lot of people, not least Cueto, of course.
Okay. Going into the game, England have had another somewhat disruptive preparation with things off the field. What do you make of all that, and do you think it's in danger of affecting the performance on the pitch?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a troubled campaign, if you like, off the field so far for them. They had Courtney Laws suspended for 2 games after being cited for a dangerous tackle in the game against Argentina. They then had all the brouhaha of what happened in Dunedin at the infamous midget throwing weekend, where Mike Tyndall, amongst others, was caught perhaps doing things he shouldn't have been doing as an England captain. And then this morning, 2 members of England's backroom staff have been suspended for the game at the weekend after being found guilty of replacing match balls in an unauthorised manner during the game against Romania last week. So on the surface, it's pretty disruptive, that sort of thing, but conversely, what you find is that events like that tend to sort of pull people together, and England perhaps will develop a siege mentality and think that literally the rest of the world is against them. So as much as it can be seen as a negative, possibly in the long run it could even work in their favour.
Okay, and just finally then, Neil, do you think they'll do it?
England should win. Yeah, I think the key is that they need to get a good start. First half will be crucial. I think man for man, there's no doubt that they're probably far more talented in terms of ability and personnel and experience. But I think the longer the game goes on and England don't get away from Scotland, I think the more pressure, nerves, also, I think that will be a scenario that they're desperate to avoid.